Okay, so things are turning out pretty good here on our Operation Drum Rescue. And so one thing I like to do frequently, and it doesn't really matter if you do this or not, but I find it's just a philosophical thing. I sleep better at night, I guess. When I solo my drums, the whole bus, and just listen a little bit and see if everything makes sense. And I went through a phase, my younger days where I would do some really ridiculous stuff, and a lot of it was just to see if I could sneak it in there. And like, ha ha ha, I'm going to use this 4-second reverb time on a snare and just make it soft. And now I don't really know what I was trying to do. I don't think it was just mischief. But nowadays I like to solo stuff, and I think that things should sound good soloed and not soloed. And, I've kind of talked, various ways, and in Killer Home Recording, I warn people to be leery of the solo button because all that really matters is the final mix. And that, I think, still holds up. But a new philosophy I've kind of pondered is what happens if why should a track sound bad soloed? And bad is a tricky word. I mean, it'll definitely sound thinner soloed than in the mix. That's a very common thing. Electric guitars are going to be high passed more than if you're playing in your bedroom, that sort of deal. But anyway, when I listen to these drums that we've rescued, quote unquote, I just want to see what they sound like by themselves, and to make sure I've not done something really ridiculous that may not translate well in the car, typically with upper mid-range harshness and things like that. I just want the drums to sound good by themselves and in the context of the mix. So let's listen here. Okay, the performance isn't perfect. I could probably knock down that ambience which I have on the drum bus just a little. Sometimes I'd throw it on there just to see what happens. It could be really useful for a track that's a little bit too dry. Well, actually, let's turn the reverb off and see. Let's see if this too dry business even holds up. Okay, so are those the best drums in the world? Maybe not, but you remember what we started with. It was freaking terrible. Now, there's no reason, in my opinion, that a great song couldn't come through with that. And I think we've got a pretty kick-butt little song here. So let's just listen to the whole thing in context, and let's just see if there's anything we don't like about this drum sound. Let's jump in here on the first verse. I'm going to go ahead and crank that snare up. But other than that, I don't really feel, a snare sample, I don't feel anything wrong with that. It feels like a song to me. And that's something, when we first heard of these drums, I was like, oh no, what have I done? And why didn't I make sure when we were tracking these things that I did something to, just to make it reasonable? And on their own, they did not sound good. But with the modern tools, we can rescue drums that aren't really happening. All right, next video.